I'm going to do something in this video that I literally hate doing. I never do it. We are going to have a running back in this video that was on our sell high video last week, where I have to go through, I have to take my L and say, you know what, maybe is someone we should be trading for because his situation has changed, and I apologize. I hate telling you to sell high on a player. We could go and buy low on him this week. It's the first time we've done it this season. I want to apologize for everybody, but I think we're allowed to change our mind every once in a while. But before we get into it, go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football, and down there in the comment section, feel free to ask any questions that you have. I'll try to get to as many of them as possible. And also, you will find a link to Underdog Fantasy in that comment section where you can check out all these cool player props. And when you sign up for Underdog with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. And it's available in damn near every state. But I think that should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into our first RB. Someone that we've had consistently as a buy low option here. Let's look at Rashad White in the continued trend that we've had for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their running back core. If we go back to week 5, if we look at the last 5 weeks that we have had for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Rashad White has slowly but surely expanded his role and taken more and more from Leonard Fournette. Starting off in week 5, you get 8 touches for Rashad White out of the 32 touches between these two running backs. That's 25% of this backfield. The following week, you get 7 out of 34. That's 21%. The next week, you get 7 out of 17, 41%. Then 37%. And this past week, 11 out of 25 touches in this backfield, going over to Rashad White for 44% of the market share here, the highest that we have seen of Rashad White's NFL career so far. Rashad White leads the team in rushing. I don't really care too much about that. We can't sit here and go, oh, hell yeah, Rashad White, 27 rushing yards, Leonard Fournette, 19. No, that doesn't really matter as much as the opportunity. And if we look at it, Rashad White, 29 snaps. Rashad White alongside this, 3 receptions. This is the continued involvement for Rashad White as that passing down running back, who is one of, if not the best passing down running backs in this year's entire NFL draft outside of Breece Hall, specifically in a full PPR format where we know Brady is going to be dropping back consistently, where we know Brady is going to be looking for that check down option. If something were to occur to Leonard Fournette in that PPR league where Rashad White's already getting involved as a pass catcher, Rashad White is a locked and loaded low-end RB1, high-end RB2, because if you look at the passing volume that you have from Fournette and combine that with what Rashad White were to have, hell, Rashad White would be getting close to 9-10 targets a game. So I think he is a premium handcuff running back. I think you can view him in a similar light of someone like Alexander Mattison, where, yeah, you can start him on a week-to-week basis and have very low expectations. However, the true value lies where if the starter were to go down in front of him, he could turn into that league-winning player. Now our next guy, David Montgomery. I know Montgomery's not exciting. Trust me, I get it. For that reason, Montgomery's going to be cheap, okay? I'm tired of telling you to go trade for DeAndre Swift when he's injured, and then all of a sudden we waste a crap ton of trade value on a player that may not be giving us a ton. At least if we trade for David Montgomery here and it doesn't work out, no harm, no foul. What's the real cost? And if we're looking at Montgomery, you've heard the narrative. We've heard it all year now from a ton of people trying to say, oh, Khalil Herbert, he's the running back 1 in Chicago. Khalil Herbert's running. I know Khalil Herbert's look good. I know Khalil Herbert has averaged over 6 yards per carry. I know that going into last week, Khalil Herbert was 6th in the NFL in rushing. Yes, I get it. He had expanded his role in Chicago. But at the end of the day, David Montgomery, this entire season, has always been the starting running back for the Chicago Bears. This has not changed. David Montgomery, maybe it's not as efficient as Khalil Herbert, but does it matter? I would argue no. You have Montgomery getting the bulk majority of the workload each and every week, where this past week, 52 out of 74 snaps. We know that Montgomery is the guy that gets involved as a pass catcher. Montgomery is the running back that gets targeted out of the backfield. You're looking at 22 routes run for David Montgomery, Now, of course, it wasn't a good week. I'm not going to sit here and act like David Montgomery is some phenomenal running back. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's a running back one the rest of the way. Of course, he's not going to be that. I mean, Justin Fields looks like he may be a running back one the rest of the way with 178 rushing yards and the rushing touchdown to go alongside it. But specifically with Montgomery, if I'm getting 14 carries a game, 15 carries a game like we've seen all year now, and you're getting a few targets, if you're a team that just lost that running back one, if you're a team that's been trying to stay afloat because you lost Javonte Williams, a Breece Hall earlier in the year, and you could trade for David Montgomery and pay absolutely nothing to get him, hell, I think he can be a low-end RB2. I think the Khalil Herbert hype is honestly a little unwarranted. But going over to our next guy in Washington, this is where I need to apologize to everybody. This is where we called Antonio Gibson a sell high candidate last week. And now I think we can put him on the buy low video. And what was the reason we said a sell high on Antonio Gibson all season? The reason we said a sell high on Brian Robinson when Brian Robinson was the starting running back in Washington. We said if you were to be a running back in a 3-man running back by committee in Washington in one of the worst offenses in the NFL, I'm not interested. If there's a running back that's getting involved exclusively as the 2-minute drill guy, there's a running back that's getting involved just with 10 carries a game, and then Antonio Gibson's somewhere in the middle where he's a little bit of both, where's the real value there? However, this situation may have changed. I don't want you trading for Antonio Gibson blindly, but we are going to continue to monitor the reports that we have specifically with J.D. McKissic. Now, J.D. McKissic, not a running back that you're particularly excited about in fantasy football in his own right. But with McKissic, he had a large enough role on third down as well as in the 2-minute drill where if he is removed from this offense, what we saw last week was Gibson just took all of his previous snaps, all of his previous touches, and added on what J.D. McKissic had on top of it. Now, right now, reports regarding J.D. McKissic are a little bit cloudy, but like I said, we're going to continue to monitor this as if J.D. McKissic is going to miss a significant amount of time at that point in a full PPR format where we know Brian Robinson's not getting involved as a pass catcher. This will be going from a 3-man running back by committee to only a 2-man running back by committee, or very similar to David Montgomery. Antonio Gibson's not going to cost you much at all, and I apologize for calling him a sell high guy last week when we were perceiving him as that man in a 3-man committee because it may have changed. Now going over to our next running back, someone we didn't like in fantasy drafts, but hell, the price has absolutely cratered. Naji Harris. Now with Naji Harris, I get it. I know what you're going to tell me. Mason, he's garbage. Mason, why would I ever trade for Naji? Mason, Naji Harris has 360 rushing yards this season. Mason, Naji Harris is averaging 3.3 yards per carry. He's Trent Richardson. I mean, I've heard it. You've heard it. Everybody's heard it because everybody's saying it. Naji Harris has been garbage this year. Naji Harris has been very, very bad. But let's try to take a step back. Realistically speaking, let's try to take a step back and look at the matchups we've had for Naji Harris so far this year. Cincinnati, New England, Cleveland, the Jets, the Bills, the Bucks, Miami, and Philadelphia. Naji Harris has had the toughest running back schedule among any running back in the NFL this year. Kenny Pickett has been a train wreck so far this season. Kenny Pickett has thrown 2 passing touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Naji Harris, while yes, he's been very bad, he has been put into a situation to fail. This isn't even to mention the Liz Frank injury that he had to start the season. I think we may see a couple things happen here. I think we may see Naji Harris as a running back that's had 28 targets so far this season, 108 rushing attempts, as someone that can be a top 24 guy just based off of volume alone. And then on top of this, there's an outside chance that maybe Naji Harris coming off the bye week is finally getting over the Liz Frank, is going to be a little bit more explosive, is going to be a little bit better, but most importantly, the schedule is going to get a lot better. So if we have those 4 things coming into effect, where we have Naji Harris, a healthier running back, Kenny Pickett better in the second half of his rookie season, the schedule significantly better for Naji Harris, combined with the fact that he's going to get there off of volume and volume alone, If we can trade for Naji Harris as a low-end RB2, I think we may be buying him at his floor, and there's a little bit upside for more. I don't want to tell you that Naji Harris can be a top 5. I don't even want to tell you he can be a top 10 running back at this point, but I think he could be a high-end RB2 in fantasy if you're playing in that PPR format. Maybe he starts scoring a little bit more. But now going over to someone that can be significantly better, someone that's my most drafted running back in fantasy, Josh Jacobs. And now with Jacobs, 2 back-to-back very bad weeks here. I mean, we kind of said this after we had the 3-week stretch of Jacobs, 28 carries, 144 rushing yards, 21 carries, 154 rushing yards, 20 carries, 143, and 3 rushing touchdowns. We said it wasn't sustainable. We said if you looked at the game environments for the Las Vegas Raiders in those contests, they were ideal. They were legitimately perfect. This has flipped over the past 2 weeks, however. It's had 43, 67 rushing yards, a whopping 0 touchdowns so far, and Josh Jacobs has fallen off a cliff. Now, if we look at the underlying numbers with Jacobs, they lose this game. I know they're leading the majority of it. Trust me, I get it. But you have Josh Jacobs still with 41 out of 59 snaps possible here for the Las Vegas Raiders. They're still using Josh Jacobs as that 3-down running back. And I know a lot of people view Josh Jacobs as if he's still the same guy he was his rookie season back in 2019, that he was his second year in 2020. Well, Josh Jacobs is not that player anymore. Josh Jacobs does get involved as a passing down running back. If we look at the targets that he has commanded out of this backfield over the past, 5 weeks, really outside of the first 2 weeks, Jacobs been phenomenal as a pass catcher. You have 5 targets, 6 targets, 5, 4, 4, 3. I mean, he's right there with the receptions as well. You've had Josh Jacobs with 25 receptions, 23 receptions. If we remove the first 2 weeks, the man's averaging about 4 or 5 receptions a game. He's getting involved as a pass catcher, and I think the Raiders can be better going forward. I mean, if we're looking at the Raiders, they've won 2 games so far this season. Okay, I'm not telling you that the Raiders are going to be a playoff team. I'm not trying to sell the Raiders as some roster that's going to be phenomenal, but if they could just be an average offense going forward and get just neutral game environments for Josh Jacobs, I still think he could easily be a low end to mid running back 1 in fantasy. And if we can buy him as a running back 2 right now, I personally would like to do so. But now going over to our next guy, Kareem Hunt is someone that did not get traded off the Cleveland Browns. And we've had some people asking us in the live streams if they should go through and drop someone like Kareem Hunt to go get Deion Jackson. I understand the thought process here. I understand the frustration from Kareem Hunt owners. If you were rostering Kareem Hunt, if you traded for Kareem Hunt previously this season, you were really hoping that Kareem Hunt would have been shipped to Baltimore. Probably unrealistic because obviously in division, but you were hoping that he was going to get shipped to Kansas City. You were hoping that he was going to get shipped to Los Angeles. You were hoping he was going anywhere where Nick Chubb wasn't. And if that was going to be the case, Kareem Hunt could have been a league winner. Well, that did not happen. And Kareem Hunt is now stuck in this situation in Cleveland. And we need to reevaluate the projection for Hunt going forward. And what I think we can safely do, let me know if you think I'm just cherry picking here. Please let me know in the comment section if you think I'm being unfair, because it's entirely possible. I'm trying to spin a narrative that's not necessarily there, but I think that it's a fair thing to say. If we look at the Baltimore and New England game, those were the 2 games the week before the NFL trade deadline. Obviously, he played against Cincinnati the day before the trade deadline, but I think when he plays in that Monday night contest, they already know they're not trading him the next morning. I think if he's playing that close to the trade deadline, as we said then, I think they know they weren't trading him. So if we look at the 2 games where Hunt may have been on the chopping block, he only had 5 and 4 carries. But outside of those 2 contests, 11, 10, 12, 13, 11. If we look at the targets that he's had outside of those 2 contests, 4, 2, 4, 3, 3, 4. The volume for Kareem Hunt is very consistent. You can expect that Hunt behind an elite offensive line is going to get anywhere from 10 to 13 carries, happens every single time, and he's going to get about 3 to 4 targets out of the backfield. Now, no, he's never going to be a running back 1 with that volume. Even if Deshaun Watson comes in, elevates the overall passing offense, he still can't be a league-winning guy if you're only getting about 15 touches out of the backfield. Now, what I will say is, this is the worst-case scenario for Kareem Hunt. This is what we've seen with Kareem Hunt, with Nick Chubb playing some of the best running back play in the entire NFL. Nick Chubb at 100% health. Nick Chubb in that game dominating. You still have Hunt as someone that you can start as a low-end RB2 in fantasy that will get there and give you a good week if he scores a touchdown. So during these buys, if you're a roster that has an injury, you can start Kareem Hunt as a low-end RB2. You're not going to be ecstatic about it, but it'll be fine. He'll get you there. And if we look at the possibility of Nick Chubb going down and what that could mean regarding Kareem Hunt would vault up in to the top 10 running back category immediately. You'd be viewing Kareem Hunt as a top 10 running back right that second. So if we can go through and buy him as a low-end RB2, high-end RB3 right now, get that production in our lineup whenever we need it as a low-end RB2, high-end RB3, and then if something were to change with Nick Chubb and all of a sudden, hell, he's a league-winning running back, I feel like it's a risk-free bet depending on the price point we can pay. But I think that's all we got for you. Of course, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. If you want to check out any of these props on Underdog Fantasy, you can find the link in the description, find the link in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, Underdog will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Thank you again. I hope you have a great day, and I hope we get to see you in the live stream tonight.